Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. To present the CEO report and introduce our keynote speaker, please welcome ULI's Chief Executive Officer, Patrick Phillips.
Thank you, and good morning. Delighted to be able to welcome you to the final day of programming at the ULI Spring Meeting here in Vancouver. I hope you've had a productive and enjoyable week. It's a fantastic city, just an incredible place. We're delighted to be meeting north of the border this time and very pleased at the outcome. We've got a great half day of programming ahead of us before we send you on your way back home, or if you were really smart, on your way to a really pleasant weekend here in British Columbia. I wish I was doing the same instead of being on the red eye back to the East Coast. But you know, I get a special opportunity every spring meeting because it's a members-only meeting to address what I think of as the shareholders of the Institute and tell you a little bit about the state of ULI, about how we're doing and where we're headed. So I want to take a few minutes to do that this morning. I have one piece of business, and then I'll introduce our keynote speaker. So the state of ULI is strong. As the US presidents are fond of saying at the State of the Union, the state of ULI is strong. Not only as measured by our financial results, where we're operating ahead of our budget expectations. This year we'll be able to contribute to rebuilding our reserves, but also in our increasing effectiveness and our impact. We've paying a lot of attention to measuring our global impact, and you begin to see this in our various materials. A lot more focus on outcomes instead of just outputs. Other metrics too are our profile both in traditional media as well as social media, web traffic, global reach, higher than ever. And we really take that opportunity to focus our members' experience, our members' role. That's really the central thrust of our communications strategy. All of this is pretty well documented in our newly published 2013 annual report. We've revived the annual report, and it's an annual report both for the ULI and for the ULI Foundation, and it spotlights the increasingly intertwined nature of those two organizations. It's just out, it's available on the website. Most full members will have received a copy by now. I would encourage you to take a look. It captures the broad sweep of ULI in a really fresh and distinctive new way. Like the video, it focuses in very clearly on the impact of your activities and of our industry on people's lives and the quality of their lives. So people continue to be drawn to the organization. You know, our two major activity areas that fund the bulk of the research and education program at ULI are our meetings and our membership. At this meeting, we got about 3,100 attendees. We were very pleased at that outcome. Again, when we put a stake in the ground and decided that we wanted to come north of the border to meet in Vancouver for the first time in many years, the foundations of the global recovery were not yet quite firm, and we were cautious in our expectations, but they've clearly been exceeded. A lot of that has to do with Vancouver, an incredibly attractive place that really, I think, pulled people to the meeting. Great opportunity for us to showcase ULI British Columbia, as well as ULI Canada. Canada is the second largest nation when it comes to ULI membership. We've added ULI Alberta to our roster of very successful Canadian district councils this year. They join ULI Iowa, as a matter of fact, our most recent addition to the roster. Our upcoming meeting program is also very strong. We'll be meeting in the fall in New York City, which promises to be a gangbusters meeting. And then in the spring in Houston. We also have the upcoming Asia Pacific Summit in Hong Kong, which we're really excited about, our third annual Asia Pacific Summit becoming a regular fixture on the ULI annual calendar. Now, this meeting was interesting. The council participation was actually down a little bit compared to our normal pattern, but the number of full members not on a council was up very significantly, and we had many, many more new joins for this meeting than we had at comparable sized meetings. So we're really pleased with the outcome here. I think it's a great boost for our regional district councils as well as for ULI's global program. Membership is growing as well. Membership is showing steady and sustainable growth. We're up about 9% for the fiscal year to date. We're about 3/4 in. In the Asia Pacific region, as you might expect, it's growing many times faster than that. But Europe, too, is up faster than the global average. Europe was the last man off the mat in the global recovery, and we're delighted with the progress there. Very significant momentum in our European program. Now, for many of you, ULI begins and ends with rich content. And when we talk about content, it's really how do we channel, how do we showcase the experience of our members, what our members are doing, how our members are innovating. It's a unique, practice-based perspective. That's ULI's distinctive voice. And we continue to refine how we collect, how we organize, and how we distribute this information. We've taken a more resourceful approach to funding content. We've attracted support from major global foundations, for example, who are drawn to our emerging program on resilience. We're designing a more efficient organization so that we make the best use of our members' resources, and we're trying to integrate content more effectively across our networks. And of course, we're more global all the time. A good example of this is our Emerging Sustainability Center. We're taking existing strong programs, our Greenprint Center for Building Performance, and again, this emerging program, which has gained such a strong start on resilience, urban resilience, sparked by the ULI Foundation's investment in a post-Hurricane Sandy advisory panel. We're organizing them under a new Center for Sustainability on a global basis. We're locating content resources in our Asia and European headquarters and looking to more vertically integrate our content. So again, more efficient, more integrated, more impactful. We often hear from you that what you seek from ULI is practical information that you can apply in your business or policy decision-making on a daily basis, what I call practical and tactical. And we're going to be emphasizing this over the next couple of years on a very sustained kind of a basis. You'll begin to see examples of real information that's coming from the practical experience of our members. Again, that's ULI's taproot, in my opinion. That's really the heritage of ULI, is the practical experience-based information and knowledge. Good example of this is our Building Healthy Places Toolkit. You're all aware that we've had a sustained effort on the notion of building healthy places, connecting health and the built environment for the past year or so. What we're beginning to do now is pivot toward practical information, a toolkit approach, accessible in new and exciting ways online that you can put to work every day. We're also trying to extend the council or the council-like experience. Again, most of you were in council meetings this week. It's a very high value add aspect of ULI's program. We're aiming to derive the key lessons from that and apply it on a more global scale. So a lot of that is enabled by information technology. What's happening in IT, as most of you know, is a real embrace of cloud-based computing. That happens to coincide with ULI's evolution as an increasingly decentralized organization. So you'll see, I think, dramatic improvements in your ability to both conduct business with ULI, register for events, purchase books, whatever it might be, as well as an ability to navigate ULI's content resources and networks to customize your own ULI experience. So a major investment coming up in information technology. Many of you, of course, join ULI for the networks. And one of the networks that we're really focusing in on is our global network. We're emphasizing the more effective and accelerated growth of our national council system outside the US, essentially the district council experience and model applied outside the US, where we think that's the key, local relevance presented in the local language, the key to membership growth on a global scale, and again, enabled with investment in information technology. Really interesting examples beginning to occur spontaneously around the networks. We have a delegation from ULI Australia traveling next month to our annual conference in Japan, which has traditionally been a more insular kind of an event, focused on the Japanese market only. We have study visits from members from ULI UK traveling to North American cities to take a look at affordable housing. All of this is facilitated by the members themselves. So it's important to remember, as a member of ULI, you're instantly a member of a very powerful global network. You have access to ULI resources, ULI members, and ULI teams throughout the world. And as we know, the world is increasingly interconnected. And we aim to make it easier to do such. So we're making continued improvements in our networks. We're making continued improvements in our content. We aim to make your experience better. So I'm pleased to report again that the Institute is not only in good shape, we're thriving, we're ascendant. Now I speak on behalf of a team of about 175 dedicated professionals. We're often referred to as Georgetown, but in reality we're also London, Hong Kong, Singapore, Frankfurt, Houston, New York City, and about 50 other cities around the world. We're united by our dedication to ULI's mission and to delivering value to you, to our members. So on behalf of all of us, we're very grateful for your continued support. Thank you. Now, I do have one, thank you. Thank you. I do have one other piece of business before our keynote speaker. It's a pleasure to present the 2014 ULI Apgar Award. This award is named for longtime ULI leader Sandy Apgar, and it recognizes the authors of Articles in Urban Land, which is our flagship publication, of course. Articles that best exemplify the mission of the Institute. It was created specifically by Sandy to encourage ULI members who are generally not professional journalists to share their experience and wisdom with the ULI community. This year we have two winners of the Apgar Award. The first, by Reeves Taylor, who's a principal at Gensler, is called Minimizing Risk in an Era of Resilience. And the second, by Jamie Rushin, Sean Slater, and Ryan Call of ELS Architects in Urban Design, is called New Suburbanism, Reinventing Inner Ring Suburbs. Two issues obviously central to ULI's mission, both articles readable, very solid in their reporting and support. They're smart reads in an age of information overload. We have Sean and Reeves here with us this morning. Please join me in recognizing the two winners of this year's Apgar Award. Gentlemen, stand. Thank you. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Michael Moran. Michael is the New York-based managing director of global risk analysis at a company called Control Risks, a fascinating organization that provides advisory services on global political risk and security. He has very interesting stories about security in China. He's a foreign policy journalist, he's a writer, a geostrategist for investment banks and other institutions. He's the author of a couple of interesting titles, among others, The Reckoning, Debt, Democracy, and the Future of American Power. He's also the co-author of a book published in 2012, The Fastest Billion, the story behind Africa's economic revolution. He's a foreign affairs columnist for globalpost.com. His career's included stints at major media outlets like MSNBC, the BBC World Service, Radio Free Europe, and the Associated Press, among others. So please join me in welcoming Michael Moran.